Welcome. Hey, boys.
What's happening?
How are we today? It's Nick. It's Gautam. It's your live market chat on a Tuesday. Not a Friday Tuesday or Tuesday Friday, but a real Tuesday, Nick.
Tuesday. It sure is.
Yeah. We got some interesting action going on today. GP, the Qs are up right now. Semiconductors are going bananas, led by AMD. You were lucky enough or fortunate enough to buy some calls on AMD. Said nicely. How you feeling?
Good.
Is it good when the short-term trades make you some money as opposed to just watching the suck that we've been having?
Well, so it hasn't sucked for me because I've been trading the shit out of metals. They're trending. You might as well take advantage while they are. It's been a brilliant trade for the most part, pretty technical. But what AMD represents is a general market theme is technicals are starting to work again.
Yeah, baby.
Right? So what do we do when technicals start working again? We push. It's just that simple. Technicals work, you push. You're looking at something that tried to break down into the gap for the third time yesterday, and then buyers stepped in and bullish engulfed the entire range from the prior day, which is all right. Well, that's a reversal candle at a key pivot area. What's the response that buyers should get from that? Typically, it's a pretty solid response. It's not like some lethargic, pathetic, apathetic move. And what do you see today? Boom, you have the 8%, 7%? At
Volume
some point,
about 20% more from yesterday already.
Yeah. So like technically, potential breakdown, false breakdown, reversal, bullish engulfing, follow through, right? Like that 3 sets of parameters, bang, 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 boom. And so what it represents is what we've been talking about for a while now. And I know we've been wrong for the most part, saying it's going to break out soon, but we're still in chop. They're still selling down from 9:30 to 10:30 every single day without fail. It reverses the entire overnight move, and we're back to green here, which is really nice to see. And it's leading out with tech going into earnings, which is what we always kind of thought. As earnings come around, mega caps will start to beast again.
Get perky again, right?
Oh, rotation. But the general theme is pull up the Q.
The NQs or the QQQ?
Just the Qs, right? And so this is what we've been talking about this range for a while now. But you can see the consolidation, the tightening of range versus this gap. Right, versus this breakdown gap from 1027 or whatever that was. What was the date on the Qs there? Where you have that you have the line drawn, but just slightly under that big red candle right there from the little island top there.
Oh, this one. Which one?
Yeah, the other one. So that one. Yep. Right.
That
so
would be November 4th.
We've been basically consolidating and shortening the moves on entire one of these. CPI should have been enough to break away gap for us, but if PPI, which is coming out tomorrow, and the Supreme Court decision, which is coming out tomorrow, apparently this has the potential for a 3-month consolidation breakaway gap. So just keep that in mind, because the technicals are starting to work better, right? It's showing up where it matters. Overall, like Microsoft and Meta are still pretty weak because they're under the 200 SMA. But you'll see that Google is continuing to beast and lead. Amazon is showing signs, but hasn't fully embraced the Google beast mode price action, but it's getting there. Apple continues to be whatever market contrarian stuff. Tesla is stuck at 450 because option premium sellers win all day until a catalyst worthy of breaking out comes into this name.
I think I said on Friday I would have bought Apple near the lows.
Yeah.
You'd just be up 2% in a couple days.
But you see, like,
no biggie. Just it's Apple.
We can talk about like a lot of these. Like, let's go take a look at a few different names, and I'll hand over the mic to you guys. So the first one I posted about this morning is Roblox, right? And so put on the weekly on the Roblox. This is a great example of how miserable the trades can be, but really bullish in a secular cycle, right? And so this Roblox trade 150 all the way to 73, but 73 was what? It was the base. Like if you go further out to the left, it's the base. All it did was essentially create a handle of this big ass cup from IPO days, retested the base, but that required a 60% drawdown, right? Like I'm not saying it hasn't been miserable, but if you can objectively look at price action and sitting in different areas of stuff, it's a double top breakdown. It's a base retest. It is all the things that you want to see. And on top of that, what's the response so far off that base retest, right? And so if you're looking at these longer term charts of these names with bases and you're kind of discouraged or disparaged or feeling like nothing's ever going to go, then find these horizontal pivots. Your trend lines don't matter. Horizontal pivots are where things are at. They seem to have been magnets across the name. Look at Baba, similar. All right. Baba, the base right there is at like 130, 140, top of the base, boom. For 2-3 months, it comes and just destroys your soul, and then off to the races again.
I had a better chart of that on over here, and I think you can see that on Baba a little bit better if I pull it up real quick.
Yep.
There you go. It's a little messy, but there's your line.
It's perfect, right? Like these are what I mean by technicals are working, even though they've been miserable. So, and then the other one is HIMS, right? HIMS could not find a single buyer. Go to the daily on this, right? It was low volume, beat down after beat down after beat down after beat down, 60% straight down in 3 months, no giving, fills that gap, and look at that, all of a sudden, boom, right? Like it's been a miserable ride, but all the things that have now retested these breakouts are starting to find buyers, which pretty much says buyers have been absent for 3-4 months, just patiently waiting for
I think that's accurate.
These levels to hit, and now they're hitting, and the cues are coiled, right? The markets are coiled near all-time highs. Silver continues to do well. Metals continue to do well. Now brings, I think, the expansion of the range, right? So that's what I want to see over the next few days. If we don't get that, then obviously my thought process is wrong and got to reassess. So
I think it's interesting, GP and Nick. I'm curious on your thoughts. Last week, GP, you said I'm always late, and I said, well, I'm always early, right? Like, I get beat up in trades for being too early sometimes, but I like it when it's not a distribution pattern that the buying is low, right? The volume is low on what's being accumulated. If I'm early and I take a hit, that's what it is, but that doesn't necessarily break my thesis, Nick. And then eventually you see all of a sudden volumes start coming in and the trade going your way, based on a lot of these horizontal pivots and horizontal support and resistance lines.
Was there a question there?
No, I was just I was just looking on your take on how we've had low volume and things turn the other way once you get into the start of the year or other bullish cycles.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I think for me, the more I lean into the larger time frames, it takes quite a bit for me to really shift gears from, let's say, like a bullish to like an outright bearish standpoint. Definitely will move into that kind of like chop bosh range, which is obviously kind of what we were in. You know, like, you know, we talked about this a little bit last week. Like, if you're just looking at the cues, you can literally look at the fucking chart and say definitively, like, we're in an uptrend. Just because we had I don't know, a red month or a down couple months or a couple sideways months, the long-term moving averages are all pointing up on the largest time frame that I at least pay attention to. I don't really look at the quarterly or the monthly. And then going out to the cues, going down to the weekly, you know, we were basically counting that out. Really starting about week 12 was when we kind of, or at least when I kind of started making mention of it, like, hey, we're in week 12 of this sideways consolidation. Price really hasn't broken down. We haven't reverted back within the prior range. We've continued to kind of remain again kind of in the sideways, really horseshit choppy action. So to me it didn't seem like it made sense to shift into like outright like bearish, like this is a top. And then like you go down to the daily and it was like, okay, starting back like November, kind of when we got that November 20th, like massive outside reversal and golfing bar, you could have said, all right, this is kind of a head and shoulders pattern on the daily.
Yep.
So maybe I need to either, if I'm not already getting stopped out of positions, especially like kind of shorter term positions, like maybe now is the time to get defensive. But we were proven wrong almost immediately. We still didn't break into the prior range, which ultimately would have been under like, you know, 580, 575. That whole time we were kind of talking about like, you know, when there's a pattern building out, if what that how do I word this? The pattern is going to imply a directional move. And if it's a bearish pattern, that means that you should be anticipating or expecting a move lower. And when you don't get that follow through or get that action, then it's telling you something. You know, in this case, price literally ripped off that low, and you know, we failed at the high end of the range. So I guess kind of where I'm going with this is that, you know, you're looking at the monthly and the weekly, and you have a more concrete. I don't want to say concrete is probably not the best word, but let me just go back to the daily. So, you know, we had the head and shoulders build out, and then, you know, it started to look like an inverse head and shoulders was building out, and that didn't play out. So you're like, okay, well, we're just going to continue to go chop sideways. And now the way that it looks like it's building out kind of one of Minervini's VCPs, like a volatility contraction pattern. So, you know, again, beginning back on that November 20th low, you can just draw the trend line up and then have a horizontal line across the 627, 628. And we're drilling the same high, and then we're putting in higher lows. So again, like this is like a bullish continuation pattern. And like kind of GP said, if like what we should be anticipating or expecting here is resolution to the upside, because that's what a VCP like is telling us. And then of course, if we don't get that, then we've got to shift gears and say, you know what, holy fuck, like either we're going to continue to chop around this range, roll over, or Just it needs more time. Like that could be, it could be as simple as just needing more time. Kind of to what you've spoken about, climbing the wall of worry and, like let's say us getting kind of a grind or melt higher. I think even as we've kind of been in this sideways choppy environment, we're really starting to see, or we've seen some like incredible moves in these kind of like up legs within this pattern. So I'm curious to see how that ultimately plays out when the Qs, or if the Qs do bust higher. So, for instance, like let's just, like the rocket names, like Rocket Labs, right? It's holding up at highs. It's already had a incredible run off of the 200-day. If the Qs get cranking, Mega gets cranking, crypto gets cranking, like I don't know. I'm super curious to see how, like, are we just gonna go into
This
like
guy
just
said
a
if
massive
crypto
fucking
gets
rip?
cranking.
Yeah.
I mean, Friday we talked about GP was, when's it gonna do something, right? And I was like, I already voted with my pocketbook. I already put money to work, and just I wish I had a nickel for every time I've said this on the podcast. This is exactly what you want to see it do, right? You come back in and retest. You don't fail the range. You retest the range, and then you push off of it. And Nick, this is the daily time frame, which I'm meh about. But what are the moving averages doing? What are all three of the moving averages doing?
Starting to curl.
That doesn't mean this can't fail, right? But this is a probability game, and the probability is leading me to the upside, and it should be leading anybody with a set of eyes to the upside. At least up here to this like 98 level on Bitcoin. So we'll see how crypto plays out. But I agree with you both. I think as we enter earnings season, again, we're going to climb that wall of worry. We have never had better earnings every quarter over quarter for the last 4 years on almost every major stock in the market. So until we start seeing cracks in that, we're going to hear a lot of hemming and hawing from the bears. We're going to hear a lot of that's a head and shoulders pattern or whatever. But the facts remain. Earnings are great. Companies keep making more profit than ever before. Stock price goes up.
I think that too. And in your wall of worry theory, I think that I don't want to get into political talk, but the only point I want to make is that the noise is incredibly loud. Like the noise is incredibly loud out there on the internet about, this way, that way, this thing, that thing. And it's all over the planet. It's not like it's just, here in Minneapolis. It's everywhere. And like if there's anything that I feel like I've really come to realize, especially since kind of, probably COVID. And, honestly, thinking back, probably the fucking credit crisis, and thinking about 2008, ever since, it's like the louder it gets, the more fear that gets pumped out there, the more bullish I get. Like, because for every person that's on the internet thinking the world is ending or the market is going to collapse or this is going to happen, there's at least 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 to 1 that are trying to like not allow that to happen. I think. So that's all I think. Like I think that, and then GP has actually pointed out to like this in some of these kind of violent shakes off the highs or violent shakes kind of within the range. Like he literally has said they're trying to divorce you from your shares. It's the same idea. Like, you were seeing like stuff in the news and this and that, like that fear. Like if you let that take hold, it's going to skew the way you look at these charts and the way you look at the market.
Because there's an infinite number of reasons to sell, right?
Yes.
I mentioned we both, GP and I mentioned earnings coming up. Earnings, while they have been great, 3/4 of the time you see a negative reaction to the stock price on earnings. That doesn't mean that the stock doesn't recover and push higher, right? But everything is a reason to sell, GP. And why do you want to give your shares away?
Well, you got to define you got to manage your risk also, though. You know, like if levels break, the floor falls out, you know, a major moving average, again, like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, GP. You do have to manage your risk. Like, it's not like,
yeah, no, and we've talked time frame plenty of times, right? So why you're in a position is completely your thesis, right? Why you're making the trade. So we could both be long or short, or I could have a long and you could have a short on the same name for completely different reasons, right? And your time frame, both of our time frames may end up working out. Like if you took a short on ServiceNow today, you're doing great, right? But I bought ServiceNow. So I'm not in it for the next hour or the next 2 days. I'm looking at building this into one of my bigger positions. So it's all time frame. It's all trying to get you out of your assets that you own, right, GP?
Yeah. So, but also like it's about how you allocate, right? Not just assets that you own. Like I just, I was in this little stock called apps, right? For like 2 years. I'm in at like average of 2. 2 years has kind of been in this miserable range, and it's back at like $5. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna take this gain because I actually see better assets that I want to allocate to, right? So I literally just sold it this morning and allocated the full position to Rivian. I bought higher, right? Like on the base retest that it's been doing. Like my first buy for that's sitting in my wife's account is like in the mid 12s, and I don't want to look at that, but I actually, as you can see, I've been talking about bases, right? Like I don't want to participate in that base, and that's what apps was in. And Rivian is in the phase of retesting that base after breaking out from it. So I'm like, this is the clean part of the trend. This is the part of the trend that I want to be involved in, that I think that I can still get a decent amount of gains in Rivian and then reallocate to apps if I want to in the future while it's still in its massive base, right? That was my thought process. So it's not just divorcing you from your shares, but you got to be in things that you think can actually work.
Right.
Over.
Yeah, I'm not just saying blindly buy and just hope everything goes up, right? They're going to be outperformers and underperformers.
And the best allocation of capital, right? So that's you won't know that until you're dead, right? Ultimately, that's the reality, right? You're hoping that you make the right decisions in life, but you won't know until you're sitting on your deathbed and you're like, well, did I buy the right stock there? I wish I had, right? Like you just don't know. You try to make the best decisions you can with the information you have, and then let the cards play out where they may be. What I am getting is people like reaching out to me on what they think of stocks and stuff these days. That's never a great sign, ultimately. So just keep that in mind. Some random anecdotal information. But look, I think this is the year of crypto, right? That's my personal opinion. And I am heavily positioned in coin on multiple accounts, multiple positions. I am in this to juice. Like I think 2026 is going to be pretty epic. And so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? It's what it is. But if I'm right, it's major paydays across the board, and maybe I can retire with you, Ben. Right at that point,
that would be great. I highly recommend it to everyone I speak to.
So that's not the thought process, because I actually just love this stuff. So I don't think I can ever retire from it. I actually just like doing this all day. It's my little happy place.
But, yeah, I mean, I like doing it too, GP. And you know, I've been, you know, I'm still not trading as much as I formerly did. I don't know that I'll ever go back to that, but that's why we do this show, right? That's why we talk twice a week on just what the market's doing and things that are going on and things that we're seeing. And this is the water cooler for us. We're shooting the shit on things that we pay attention to and care about. So I think all that's great. GP Nick, specifically for you, dip your toe in a little Connell, CONL, with our friends at Granite Shares, a little 2x love there if you're so bullish. But again, coming back to being early, I was playing this crypto breakout into October, right? So I was positioned in early October for this. And if you look at things like Coinbase and you look at things like, Bitcoin or Strategy, like they've got absolutely destroyed. And Nick, this comes back to your point of I had to be nimble, right? I took a loss on some of those positions because you can't hold through a 30 or 40% drawdown, right? Like you can't get your money back when you do that. So I've redeployed into most of those. So GB, I'm right there with you. I think this is going to be 2026 is shaping up, in my opinion, to be a pretty positive, bullish year for crypto.
Yeah, like the same thing with coin, right? I tried to find that bottom a few times. Yeah. I'm happy that I took the stops because it saved me 70, 80 points, right? I think I was trying in the low 300s and then the 280s and stuff like that. So
we were buying all this, right? And it didn't work out, right? And you have to have rules in place, and then you try again. And just because you get stopped out, Nick, doesn't mean you can't re-enter the trade later. It doesn't mean that you still don't like the idea, right? The chart can be broken, but the thesis may not be broken, right?
Yeah, I mean, as a retail trader, I think that alerts are largely like one of the best tools that we have. And again, like you're trying something like you're trying coin, right? Versus 300, the floor at 295, 300, or versus the 200 day at 285, and the floor falls out and you stop out. You could switch gears and, play the short side if that's in your, if that's your style, or you could just reset the alert for price to kind of reclaim that level. I think the hard thing for some when they get stopped out is once that happens, the revenge, I don't know if it's necessarily the revenge mindset, but they want to try and bottom ticket then. And that's where guys get really fucking chopped up rather than just setting alert. Let's say, even if, you could play, the way I'm playing coin here is I got long through yesterday's high. So, I was just thinking that it's kind of putting in a little handle. I think the entry on Friday the 2nd was actually a phenomenal entry, much better, just being that it reclaimed that 230. You had a floor there at 230. It was the high volume candle low. You had it retest of it back in late mid-November. We tried to take that out on Wednesday the 31st, and then completely reversed the following session. So that's what I'm kind of talking about, or when I think about setting alerts, you don't need to bottom tick. Just set the alert and let price reclaim that level, especially if your thesis or bias or whatever you want to call it hasn't changed. I think for a lot of us, we have a set of names or a group of names that we want to be involved with, and we want to capitalize on those moves when they happen. So we are trying to get the best price or nitpick our way in. But when price is telling you that you're wrong, just set the fucking alert and leave it alone until that level gets reclaimed. I totally agree with GP in the sense that horizontal levels and floors are 1,000 times better than your trend lines or your descending trend lines. Yeah, those patterns build out, but I think that the horizontal, I don't know. I just think the horizontal floors are 1,000 times better and easier.
There's a couple things, right? There's a couple things with that. When you're drawing trend lines or downtrend lines or uptrend lines, it can be a little subjective, right?
Yeah, totally.
I can draw this same downtrend in a few different ways. There's just 3 different ways that I just drew it for whatever reason, right? But what you can't fake is that price action right there at the top at 290. And what you can't fake is that 231, right? Like, yeah, there was an undercut and go, but look where the candle stopped out, right? Like almost to the penny. So that gives you a lot more, or that should give somebody who's looking at charts a lot more strength in what their analysis is, as opposed to something like downtrend and uptrend that can be subjective.
You zoom out far enough, and those trend lines or descending trend lines that we're looking at on the daily don't even exist.
That's right.
And so you go out to like even to say the monthly. Interestingly, the where we did find that low versus the high volume candle on the daily is in alignment with like a really pretty trend line. I think the other thing with trend lines too is I feel like the steeper they are, the less reliable they are. I don't know if that's just how I think or if it's even actual. I don't have any studies to back that up.
Well, yeah,
what you think for some reason.
I think what you're getting at with this yellow line, that's the uptrend line, right? That should give you even more, more appreciation of what the horizontal is showing you.
Yeah, totally.
That's what it does for me.
An area of influence. Yeah.
Yeah. GP, is that how you look at it too? If you see something at an angle, whether it's uptrend or downtrend, for it to align with your horizontal supports or resistances?
Yeah, that's always more powerful. And so I think the way you guys are talking about it is that the horizontal, the trend lines like this, right? The diagonal ones are subjective. I think they're subjective because people are just choosing points and not events, right? Like,
yeah.
And so like if you were drawing trend lines from key moments in a stock's history, those trend lines are a lot more powerful. So I'm not discounting diagonal trend lines, but I'm discounting the shit that people post on drawing random trend lines, right? Like April 9th is a great trend line to draw from. Why? Because that was the second best day in the history of the NQs or the Qs. Second best day, massive volume. Do you want to draw a trend line from there? Yes, that makes sense, right? A random gap down on no news or whatever, that's not a trend line to draw from. But horizontal trend lines are not subjective at all. They are fully objective. There is only the price, right? It was here, it's not. So that coin one that you're talking about, that was the S&P inclusion. Massive volume candle to say they're getting included in the S&P. Horizontally, that's it. That's where it gapped up to. That's where the buyers were. There was no buyers before that, no buyers after that. It was random news that came out. I think it was like, it wasn't even expected, right? It came out on a random Monday or Tuesday versus so that's your key horizontal pivot. And what coin did is what AMD just did. Broke down, reversed on volume, right? And so it put out a bullish engulfer. It did all this stuff. So these are all key, like put them away in the back of your head. These are all key technical setups and reversals across different sectors, different asset classes, different stuff that they're all starting to align, right? And so now that alignment, along with these horizontal / whatever trend lines, they add it's basically building the brick in that wall of worry, right? And so once the bricks of the wall get high enough where you can just jump over the wall of worry, that's the breakaway gap. That's what we've been doing. And so yes, we can fail. I think that's probably something that would be unexpected and would hurt because I'm positioned the other way. But if it does, that's a mountain of evidence to tell you that you're wrong, right? Like if it fails badly. So trend lines aren't subjective. It's just subjective because of the people drawing it.
That's a subjective answer.
That's as objectively bullshit as it is, right? Like I just, and you can see it, right? Like if you go look back at my charts when I first started, and probably all of your charts, the trend lines we used to draw were like, oh, look, 3 pivot points and blah, blah, blah. I think when we draw trend lines now with more information on our hand, they're more powerful. We can identify them better, not just what it is. I wouldn't trade the charts that I used to trade with 10 years ago. They're awful. And so that's all it is. I think it's just newbie stuff, and people.
Mine are perfect. I don't know about you, Nick, but I've never drawn a bad chart in my life.
Yeah, yeah, right. Mine are perfection.
I mean, I go back and look at mine years ago, and it's like, look at this bitch. It still holds up perfect. Look at that.
So the other thing, like in terms of like just charts and stuff in general, is like, shit, I lost my train of thought. Don't worry about it. No worries.
Don't worry about it. Move on.
Yeah. I mean, really, well, like all you're doing, I think, is drawing lines and managing risk. And the whole point of even drawing a line, no matter if it's horizontal or, I mean, obviously we're all in agreement the horizontal are much more powerful and important than diagonal, but they're lines that we can manage our risk from and define and use them to define risk. So I don't know. That's just kind of what it boils down to for me. Obviously, a lot of times I'm trying to kind of like draw a picture and find a pattern that implies price is going to move in one direction or the other. Otherwise, I don't know what the hell am I doing.
I don't know what the hell you're doing most of the time.
I don't. You know what? Me neither. I'm just living.
LIVIN. Nick, what are you watching right now? Is there anything that you've recently opened up positions in?
Yeah, so
a little bit of sweet and sour out there today, so good opportunity to check up on some things.
Yep. I did enter coin. I'm basically flat on it now as we're speaking. I did enter CoreWeave and Nimbus and CRDO. Those are probably 3 of my most recent entries.
You just opened CoreWeave today?
Yesterday. CoreWeave. Let's see. Yeah, CoreWeave, Nimbus, CRDO. Still long pretty much all of my rocket and space stuff. I was hoping to get a little bit more of a pull-in ONDS. I thought I was going to get an opportunity to add a little bit more versus 12, especially considering yesterday's candle, but didn't really get that. I thought Lunar was kind of a gift today, although I didn't add to that. I was a little nervous. I have FIGR on as well. It was kind of a nasty bar yesterday. And same, I didn't really have the sack to add to it, just kind of sitting in it.
Hey, can we go back and talk about CoreWeave for just a second?
Yeah, totally.
I wanted to see CoreWeave come back and retake this pivot here at 84.
You want to slide the chart over a little bit?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
84, 85. Sorry, I had the. There we go. That should look better. Let me go back to the weekly. I wanted to see it retake this point right here, which is like 84. Yeah. And I don't know how you're looking at it, but here on the daily, I love that you had this igniting bar. I'm going to call it that. I don't know if you're going to call it that, but you have this bar pushing back above all 3 moving averages, and now you're coming back in and resting on it. CoreWeave's a name that I'm not actively in, but for a trade, I think this is a pretty nice setup right here, Nick.
Yeah, I felt like I was chasing it a little bit through 85, 84.50, 85. As the day turned out, it put in a basically like what I would call a 50-day pocket pivot. So it was a wide range bar through the 50-day on above average volume. My plan, if I was going to add to it, was really kind of through yesterday's high, because that's kind of the high of the W or the W within it. So kind of like the 91. But ultimately, I want to see 98 get kind of taken out. And I kind of have a I don't know if you would consider it an island, but it's kind of building out an island setup. So the dream scenario is price gaps the 98, 99, or gaps up above 100 and just holds from there. I think today you're getting kind of a gift. So like it's nice when you see these wide range bars um, and price kind of pull in rather than just run. Cause I think you might get an opportunity to price to backfill at 84.50, 85 if you didn't
Yep.
take core weave. And that would still be holding within like, let's see. So if I'm looking at yesterday's candle, the 50% of yesterday's candle is 84.81. And so ideally, I'd like to see the top third of a candle like that hold. But if it holds the 0.5 or the 0.618, so be it. My stop's under the low of yesterday's candle as is. So it's not like I'm going to get stopped out if it pulls in a little bit harder than I necessarily want it to.
GB, anything about this setup or a core weave that you like or don't like?
IPO probably.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't looked at CoreWeave in a while because it was miserable. This is part of the IPO journey for me, right?
Yeah.
I just don't. Yeah, I know it goes with crypto. So.
Okay, well then let's go to one of your favorite names. Viper asked about PayPal.
Dude, how many years have we been talking about PayPal?
I know, but it bears repeating because not everybody's long-time watcher, long-time listener.
No. We've been talking about PayPal and XYZ, formerly Square, and a lot of these names that even after 70, 80% downturns, they couldn't find buyers. Not even like for a moment, right? Like maybe a day, but a sustained moment, right? So I got no desire in PayPal. It's a value trap. Cheap is going to get cheaper. If you make money, great, but you're losing money elsewhere because ONDS will do 40% while your PayPal does 1% or 5%. So I think it's a capital destroyer at the moment. Maybe it changes over time, but if this is where your head's at and this is where you find comfort and lets you sleep at night, you should do it. I don't like PayPal. I need to see accumulation. I need to see technicals line up. And I'm not talking about like a 3-day thing or a 5-day thing. I'm talking about months, right?
Yeah,
months.
anything can trade, right? And this is basically at 56, whatever. It has been a floor in the past, but then you've got this low down here near 50, and that's what you're risking against, right? You're risking 56 down to 50, and the recent highs, I mean, I would put somewhere up above 68. So, if you put it in that terms, if anything can trade, from 56 to 68, it's 12 points. From 56 to 60, or sorry, 56 to 50, that's 6 points. It's not the worst potential trade, but I use the word potential, right? Because there isn't a lot of, what is that, since 2022, there hasn't been a lot of opportunity to fully realize what other stocks can do for you versus what PayPal's doing. But again, anything can trade. Nick, anything about PayPal you like?
Yeah,
sitting here.
For me, though, if I was gonna I would have to be incredibly bored and really looking to day trade to try and bottom ticket. So let's say you were day trading and for whatever reason PayPal is just on your watch list. You'd have an alert set at basically the low, they're at 55.89, 55.90 or whatever that is. And basically try to bottom ticket on an intraday trade looking for a bounce. Obviously you'd want the cues kind of either breaking out or behaving in a similar fashion where price was weak in the morning or coming off of a short-term downtrend and bouncing. And at least that way you have the cues the cues directionally at your back. I don't know that, or you on a longer term basis, you would just need to have like a lot of conviction that, and for whatever the reason, that PayPal is going to succeed, and then then you're buying versus below the range.
I'm not a huge volume guy, but I've got volume turned on here, right? And I think that tells you basically everything you need to know.
Yeah.
The biggest weekly accumulation volume was end of July 2024.
Yep,
so in 4 years since 2022 collapse, we've seen one slightly above average accumulation bar. It is awful. Once again,
how many more sell bars, right?
Yeah, and if your thesis is that it's a value play and it will recognize the value because they are building out foundation, good on you. I hope you get it. This is not a conversation about the stock itself, right? Like, if that's
we're not shitting on you for liking it. We're just giving you our take, right? Like, anything can trade. The three of us trade all kinds of different things all the time. So it's not saying that your trade can't work out for us. We just don't like it for those reasons.
Yeah. And in a market that is up, what, 200% since the 2022 lows?
Just better opportunity.
That's all it is.
You just better opportunity elsewhere. One name that Nick, you said was gorgeous, SANM.
Yeah.
Sanmina Corporation. I don't know anything about this. Electronic technology, of course. There's got to be some AI trade.
No, I just think the setup is, it's basically been stair stepping, and you could use that high volume candle as kind of, if you weren't currently in it, I would have been using 160.50 as kind of an entry. Like, I would have considered the breakout through the 160.50, which is the high of the high volume candle back on October 6th. And then from there, you could just use the all-time high as your next pivot to kind of leg into it. And then, you zoom out to like the weekly, and the thing has just been stair-stepping all the way since really kind of breaking out of its base, which was like at 45. And then it kind of went base on base, based higher. And then, obviously that's kind of the bummer about the tariff lows. The tariff sell-off was that there's an incredible opportunity to re-enter positions, but at the same time, so many, just looking at the charts, so many trends kind of broke per se, just being like, the 200-day or the 30-40 week moving average broke. So you had an easy area to like kind of re-enter, again, once those moving averages got reclaimed, or however you wanted to kind of play that V out. But it's just been stair stepping higher, and I love expensive names. So it's I know I have it on my list. I didn't have any alerts set on it, but I definitely would be. I like the look of it. Patrick, I'm pretty sure he's a CMT, so I'm curious what his Patrick
Snapshot.
Yeah, so I mean, both he mentioned Flex and Sanm, both pretty. I would imagine he's been in them a while and probably riding the trend. But yeah, good. They're both good looking, I think. Kind of the same idea with Flex, where it's like, obviously like someone that's like incredibly bearish would probably be trying to call it like a head and shoulders or something, but you've got another pivot at 65.50 that you could use to kind of, trade against. Moving averages are all stacked and curled, and it's trending.
What say you, GP?
Or which one? Flex?
Flex, yeah.
So to me, this I like this, right? Because it's basically setting up like an inverse head and shoulders here. So I would say maybe slightly lower, and then it's off to the race. You can call it a diamond pattern as well, right? Like, but you're
right here.
Yeah. Right. Maybe a little bit more sideways, maybe after Jan up X, but and so why the reason I want to talk about why I say it's inverse head and shoulders and not a head and shoulders, because I'm well aware that anyone who's bearish will be looking at that and say it's inverse.
That's all I was saying.
I see a head and shoulders.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're asking me why this is, we've talked about this ad nauseum, right? Where does the volume show up? There's very, very distinct patterns in head and shoulders on why they're topping patterns and not why they're not necessarily why they're continuation patterns, right? So if you stack these things up, and we've once again talked about it a lot, where is the volume in flex here? The flex volume is at the bottom, not at the top, right? It's at the bottom of this head and shoulder. So that basically says that's where the head's right. Like, so why is head and shoulders the thing? It's a distribution pattern. So what you want to see is when it's going up and to the right, you want to see volume increase on the left shoulder and peak out on the head, or vice versa. Why is that the case? Because that's where they're distributing out while the stock is going up. They're not increasing volume on the sells down. They're already bolting out while it's trending up. Hedge funds and these institutions are not waiting for the disaster of the stock to hit. They're taking profits and they're trimming and trailing. So that's the concept here. In general, head and shoulders tend to see volume on the left and the middle, and on inverse head and shoulders, you'll see it in the middle and the right. So I would love to see a just gap and go out of here, Nick, right? Like on heavy volume, and or not heavy volume, but heavier volume, and that will confirm that it's a inverse head and shoulders. I like it. Looks good.
The other thing, if you zoom out to the weekly, God, there are so many areas of tight closes. Like if we were looking at it from just 2025 on, where it kind of built that basically from like the tariff low setup or sell off, right? So price was trading about 45, sold off, came back. It put in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 week tight at 42 before breaking out, and then it broke out again. You not exactly, but it pretty much went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks of tight closes before taking out the 54, and then it kind of continued. And if you are watching as price kind of is trending along, there are so many areas of tight closes that just, I don't know, scream incredibly bullish to me, because if institution, I mean, it's just kind of showing you an institutional footprint there, and that they're involved. So if looking at the weekly, where price is at right now, we had a 3-week tight at 64. And so last week's candle was just basically like a tight weekly close, kind of whatever you want to call it, like a shake and bake, where price kind of shook out, and now we're kind of gonna, or at least I don't want to say, again, anything's possible. We could totally roll over, but it sure looks like last week was just kind of a shake and bake out of the 3-week tight, and now we're going to kind of resume higher, to me.
Shake and bake, baby.
So,
wow,
yeah, I was just going to.
Has flown by, guys. Holy cow. GP Dye Silver, you're out of the silver trade now? You short silver all of a sudden? You're muted.
I am short silver.
You are short silver.
Yes.
Did you start your short today?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I started one yesterday. I got stopped out immediately, so I was like, okay, like we're close to it. This is just me day trading stuff, so this is not an indication of where silver is going. It's just watching the price action and stuff. So similar price action was setting up yesterday. I got stopped out overnight. JAMA fucking traders, and pushed up a little bit higher here. And so I got short at 88.75 versus 89.20. I've made on this futures trade probably close to $10 to $15 in the last 2 weeks. So risking 50 cents to $1 of that is not a big problem for me.
Heard that. I'm here.
This in general has literally saved it. I know people don't understand metals and its futures and stuff like that. But I encourage anyone and everyone who's listening, in moments that are like this, right, where we churn for 3 or 4 months, your mental sanity gets questioned quite often, and people kind of walk away or get apathetic and stuff like that. Futures in general can help. It's a dangerous tool, but learn it the right way. Look, even I have my own Discord, and I realized I ran out of my knowledge on futures, so I signed up for someone else's Discord to learn more. Right, we are always learning, human beings. So just if you can add futures, if you have the means, I think it'll help you with sanity during these times in general, guys, and whoever's listening.
I'm completely insane because I'm sitting here buying the dip on service now for the, I don't know how many weeks in a row now, 3 weeks in a row. It's one of my top 2026 picks, by the way.
I was thinking, like, IGV, what a disappointing kind of price action. I don't know. We don't necessarily need to talk about IGV.
Yeah, I don't think it's the death of software. I think we're getting ready to see a resurgence in software, and I'm just early, per usual. Anyway,
yeah, I don't know, man. I got stopped at a snow. This is like coin.
Well, you hate snow, so that was easy for you to get snuffed out of snow.
Yeah, but I also took it where my risk was priced minimally, right, for something I don't like, but I'll take the chart. So
sure.
Risking 2% wasn't the end of the world for me. So getting out, but I'm saving myself from another 5%, right? I got out at 218 or 219. That's at 208. Yeah. So when you have things that are showing you that it could be potentially moving out and they start failing, you just have to.
You got to accept it.
Yep. And maybe it changes tomorrow, right? Like maybe it changes next day. ServiceNow split, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right before the new year.
I was like, this used to be $1,000 stock. What happened?
Yeah. Well, no, it didn't fall off that far. But it has quite a fall from grace. I mean, look at that. 240. What was that? 239.62 was the all-time high.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean,
you're buying in a 42% discount from all-time highs in one of the premier industrial software names. So, like, anyway, hey, it's time to wrap it up. GP, last word.
This is going to be a self-promotion. We do this. This is we're 3 days away from our 4-year anniversary. I think our first show was the 16th together of 2022. We've been doing this for a while. Whoever is listening, whoever is using this, even after we're not live, please share. Please share with whoever you want and get us exposed to as much. We try to do as best as we can. Try to give you tools that you can trade against and invest against, and just show us the love if you can.
Definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick. Yeah. I'm going to go first. You know, we're both bearded brothers, right? And I used to really hate facial hair until it grew on me.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
I got GV. I got him. Got him. All right, Nick, it's all yours.
Yeah, no, I went to an all-male military college prep Catholic junior high and high school, and by like 10th grade, so in our military class, it was considered our leadership class, and it, it impacted our GPA. So if we got demerits and it lowered our grade, like that would mess with us. So shaving was part of our uniform. And, by like 10th grade, I mean, if I had a 5 o'clock shadow going into 7th, 8th period, sometimes I'd have one of our leadership department professors, like, if they found me, they'd send me to the bathroom with a Bic razor and I have to shave. It fucking sucked. But I come from a military family, and so it is what it is. After high school, it was like, that's the wrap. So anyways, last words. Yeah, hey, I appreciate everyone. I love shooting the shit on here. I love shooting the shit on StockTwits and Twitter, and I'm looking forward to more. And I think as something about turning 40, I think I really feel like I want to kind of share my story and the things that have helped me and the things that have maybe not. And yeah, I don't know. I definitely want to give back more and more, it seems like, as the older I've gotten. So definitely looking forward to more and kind of put myself out there more. Like, this show was very not to hold you guys up, but basically when I joined Twitter and StockTwits, the reason we did was because I was kind of hanging with a group of prop traders, and this was how we kind of just exchanged ideas. And in 2008, when kind of the whole prop industry kind of exploded or imploded due to some like kind of shitty stuff that happened at a desk in California, they wanted us all to go get licensed or 7 or 6355. And a lot of us didn't really want to do that because we were retail traders, didn't want to have to pay for that kind of shit. So the only way for us to really exchange ideas was to remain anonymous. And then I think just over as time kind of went on, having a wife and kids and another business, I kind of just wanted to remain anonymous. And so when we started the show, it was just kind of like, it was a very raw and vulnerable thing to like.
The three of us just use our avatars too.
Yeah. And I think, between the show and kind of really getting to kind of meet people at Stocktoberfest, I don't know, I'm kind of excited to put myself out there more and more in a way that I've never done before. So anyways, I just want to say I appreciate everybody that tunes in to. I'm turning. My wife just turned 42, Randy. I'll be turning 42 in July. I'm just saying that, like, something about turning 40, it was like, I don't need to be such a selfish, dink bag anymore. I guess.
A dink bag? Is that Minnesotan of you? A
dink
bag?
I don't know. It was just
Right.
Aren't you soon to be Canadian?
I don't know. Are they going to trade Minnesota? Yeah, I don't know. Dude, I don't know.
You're going to trade Minnesota for Alberta, right?
Hey, they got great skiing up there. So if I become Canadian, I honestly, you guys are more than welcome to come visit. And it was nice knowing you while I was American, I guess.
Well, that's going to do it for today. Nick, regardless of if you're in Minnesota or somewhere in Canada, I would love to come visit. I might bring the kids. I might bring the wife. Whatever you guys are open to, I'm down.
Totally.
Love you guys. More importantly than the love that we have is we are doing this again tomorrow over on StockTwits, right? So Community Rip Live, 1 o'clock Eastern time. That's United States Standard Time is the Eastern time, Nicholas. So we'll see everyone there over on StockTwits. We can't wait. We love the Community Rip Live. We love the conversation that the chat brings. Chat, you got to bring the energy tomorrow. Today was a little less than we normally get from you, so we expect you to bring it. Other than that, that's it for today. I'm going to go figure out more ways that I can buy some more service now. But we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.